All right, guys, so what I'm doing is I'm kind of bouncing around. I know I keep saying I'm going to do the motor, and I am, but it seems like everything, a domino effect. You start doing the motor, then you got wires hanging. So you trace those wires back, and then you start getting into the dash and what the people that were drag racing this car, were putting in the dash, what kind of switches and all that stuff, So that's where I'm at now. I started tracing wires to the dash. Now I'm trying to figure out like what these old switches were. And usually what I do is I kind of just eliminate them and just start over, because it does have the key switch in here and everything seems like it's hooked up. So I'm gonna pull the switches out, get the wires back to original where they were. Things that are tapped off power wires, I'm just gonna take the connections off and tape the power wires back up, stuff like that. I also had to lube up some of my switches, and PB Blaster pulled through again, and I'm not sponsored by them, by the way, just throwing them out there. But now all my switches work good. Windshield wipers twist. The light, this was frozen in the on position. Now that thing just works great. Flashers work. And then from there, I'm going to put my dashboard on. One thing that kind of sucks for me right now is when I bought this car, I didn't get the keys for it. And the guy I bought the car from has a few keys laying around for a lot of his old cars. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the switch out of this, the key switch. And instead of buying one, I'm just going to send it to him. He lives about 2 hours away. I'll just overnight it to him. Let him see if he can't find the keys, then he'll just send it back to me. And it makes it a little bit easier than to have to get a whole new switch for a 67. They're not expensive, but it's just, I'd rather have as much originality as I can back into the car, even though this thing is not original anymore by any means. So that's what we're going to do today. And then hopefully we can start getting that motor put together a little bit. All right. All right, so a couple hours later, I pulled the 3 switches that I was telling you guys about. Real easy door switch. I shouldn't even say door switch. Door lock, glove box lock, and the ignition switch. So I'm gonna send those back to my buddy, and he's gonna look for the keys for them. And then basically all I did is take out all the switches. I traced wires back. I kind of connected things back where I think that they should go, color to color. Pulled connectors that are like butt connectors out, and that's it. I got this. I've traced this. This goes to the fuel cell that was in the back when they were drag racing this thing, and it was probably the fuel pump. I'm sure they had electric fuel pump on it. So what I do with stuff like that is, just in case I need it again, and it runs all the way to the back of the Coronet through this wiring harness here. And what I'll do is I'll just label it and just kind of tuck it back in the dash. So that kind of stuff isn't a big deal. From there, we're gonna put the dashboard back in, and we'll see what we get from there. I'm gonna, like I said, start going around, and then we'll start getting this supposedly pretty pumped up 318 back together. And we'll go from there. All right, let's do a little update here. I wanted to get a little farther before I did my next video, but I'm afraid I'm gonna get too far ahead and then I won't be able to backtrack on the video. So what I'll do is just kind of tell you what I did and where I'm at right now. So the points, like I said in my last video, it's always the points. So I redid the points in there, cap, rotor, of course, the stuff that don't break the bank, wires all the way down. I always try to do my wires neatly. I don't know if it's the OCD in me or what. I just don't like them going across the valve covers and right in there, right into the plugs. I like going around and making my wires, and I'll probably even make them a little bit better than that because I don't have my plugs in yet. I want to cranked the motor over a few times. I got all that Marvel mystery oil down the cylinders. I want all that to be in. Put the valve covers on. Let's see. I bypassed my heater core because I don't know if it leaks or not. So for right now, just to get this thing fired up, I just bypassed it. And then later on, when I start working more of the bugs out, I'll go ahead and try to hook it up and see if it leaks or not. Alternator, another one that's not too bad on price. I think it was like 60 bucks, if that. One thing that did suck though, and I sat here probably for a few hours. I don't know what it is about these alternators, but just the spacing and the gaps and the things you have to do to make it straight. I put my bracket back on from a 318. I like the way it holds the alternator a little better, vice the slick one they have where it kind of comes over and it's just a piece of chrome and holds it like holds the alternator up. I like more support for my alternator. And then the spacers are always fun. Made a few of those, had to grind a couple down just to make it so my belt is straight. So I got that far. Got the radiator coming probably next couple days. Then I'll be able to hook up all my hoses. I do not have a carburetor yet. I have my Edelbrock that I have on that 66, but I'm kind of ripping it around the neighborhood, so I don't want to take it off, and then that thing won't run. So I'll probably end up just forking over to 300 and just getting 650 Edelbrock, manual choke, stuff like that. Let's see, I ended up running my coil on the side of my firewall, which I really like that. It keeps them cooler. I don't like when they're on the motor. I guess that's the design back in the days, and it probably works fine. I just like, personally, I just like them away from the motor. So I ran that. I got real lucky on this linkage right here because my 70 Coronet 4-door out back, everything's plug and play. So I ended up pulling that, the valve body passing gear linkage out of the 70. I had to do just a little mod to it. One of the rods was a little long for the valve body to kick in on this tranny. So I ended up just cutting out like an inch out of it and then just re-welding it. So I lucked out there. I have my throttle linkage hooked up. Again, pulled it out of the 70. The one that was in here was all frayed and going to crap. And other than that, we're looking good. We're on track. I put a new fuel pump in. I was trying the best I could to get to use the one that was on here, but as cheap as they are, and I just didn't trust it enough, so I just ended up getting a new one. And as you can see, it's right down there. Real easy, like 23 bucks, if that. And that is it for the motor. We are all good. We are on track. So now what I'm doing, because I'm kind of bouncing around, is let's go to the inside here. I had to send my ignition switch back to the guy who I bought it from to see if he had the key for it. Man, if I could get that key, I could almost start getting power to my coil, get power down to the starter, get the battery hooked up, and I'd be really on track. He says he's not sure if he's even got the key. So I'll probably end up just having to buy one. I think a switch off eBay is probably like 24 bucks. It ain't gonna kill me or nothing. But I was kind of just hoping he had the original key for it and all that stuff. The dash, check this out. So I have 3 gauges, just your average Sun Pro 3 that I had just laying on the shelf. And what I'm going to do, because the radio is already cut in this dash, and I hate when people do that, by the way, but with these old cars, it was nothing for people just to cut the dashes and put in like a newer style, probably an 8-track or something. But anyway, I always like to mount, if a dashboard is cut, I have no problem with cutting it a little bit more, and I will mount my 3 gauges right into the dash. If it's not cut, of course, I will not touch that because I do not cut dashes. I don't like that at all. But since this one is cut for the radio, and there's no radio in it, by the way, I'm going to either put a plate or just cut. I'm probably going to have to put a plate because this hole here is too big. but I'll mount them real, you know, slick right into the dashboard, and that always makes it look kind of cool, because you can't trust the idiot lights on these old cars. So the gauge is where it's at, you know, $30, but I had these on the shelf, so they're always they always save you in the long run, especially for overheating, because you could watch your gauge, your temperature gauge, just go up if you're cruising in the hood, because that always seems to be the big thing, is your these things overheating right off the bat until you work the bugs out anyway. And then I got a sweet little tack sitting on the shelf that I'll never use, and I'm gonna try to figure out a way to, of course we could always put it on the column, but I'm trying to make it a little bit more ratty and, you know, more dragged out, and I'll probably end up mounting it somehow. It's kind of big to go up there on the dash, but just something like, you know, back in the 60s when they're drag racing these cars, because like I said, this was an old drag car, so they're drag racing the crap out of this thing. But that's it. We're up to date. All right, so I'm gonna keep on pushing. Hopefully we can fire this thing up probably in the next 3 or 4 days and see how bad to the bone this little 318 that's all pumped out with a big old cam, headers, aluminum intake, board 60 over, purple shaft cam. Let's see how bad she really is. All right. Appreciate you guys. All right, happy Friday. Gonna do a little update for the Coronet again. Let's see here, what did I do? So I got the radiator, just came in today, and I redid the lines that go down to the transmission, and then I plumbed them in, and I didn't connect one side yet, but we're still working on that. You can see where I stopped right here. Wasn't too bad of a job. Like I said, I pulled this line out of the 70 Coronet I got out in the back. The other line, I pulled it out, but it was just, I didn't trust it because it was rusty, and you know, with these lines, they pop little pinholes, and then next thing you know, you got to put hoses everywhere. So I used that flexible line that you could get up at the parts store, which I really like that stuff, by the way. It's so malleable. You could just move it around anywhere you want, and it just kind of goes, you know, it doesn't kink, unless obviously you try to, you know, bend a little tight 90-degree angle, but not bad, real easy to work with. Put the hose on. Oh, and here we go, I got this today. So wiring diagram, I spent the $12 to just figure out some of the wires that are hanging, just so I am positive on, you know, where they go and what they do. So I was a little disappointed. I didn't pay nothing for it. It's like $12. But I was a little upset because these are, I mean, it's pretty easy to read, but it's not color coded. So I was I thought I paid a little extra for a better manual, but I mean, you could just go to the, you know, just figure it out on the little index of what color each wire is. But, you know, it's easier to get the color coded ones. But like I said, guys, I'm good. You know, I'm good with motors and good with doing these old cars, but sometimes I need a little help myself, especially when it comes to the wiring stuff, just so I know which wires go where. And other than that, I'm waiting on a battery tray. I ordered one. I was gonna fab one up, but it's just easier because it's got the brackets and stuff, just to kind of just order one and be done with it. You fab it up, and you know, it's cool, you're fabbing and all, but by the time you spend all the time welding and bending the metal and making brackets, I mean, that's almost like 4 hours worth of your day right there. And that's the thing with this car, with any of these old cars, you know, don't be in a hurry to do anything, because nothing goes fast. I mean, everything takes, you think a little project's gonna take, you know, 20 minutes, oh, I'll slam that in there real quick, and next thing you know, it's an hour or two later because something went wrong, or a bolt didn't play ball like you thought it was. So, you know, I always come in here having a game plan. I try to go through my mind what I'm going to do next. And then next thing I know, something doesn't go right, and then I'm behind my personal schedule. So, all right. Oh, I got this in too. I got the tack in up there. And it's all right. We'll see what happens with that. And then I'm going to start wiring all this stuff into the dashboard. And we should go from there. I'm thinking about, let me bring you around to the other side. When I start working in here, this will probably take me a good day to wire all this stuff in. And then by the time I figure out, you know, the ignition and all that stuff. But I am just going to sheet metal over these holes real easy. Not going to get crazy with it. I'll bend a little, put a little heat to some sheet metal and just kind of tack it in. And that'll be the end of that. Other than that, that's it. Happy Friday. I'll see you guys later. Guys, just want to give you a quick update on the 67 Coronet 500 and one of the things we got accomplished today. So if you remember when I pulled this car in the shop, it had the Krager Gold Super Tricks that I bought the car with. And those are cool, don't get me wrong. Those things look good. They make a car look really good, especially this one. But the problem was the beads on them from sitting in the dirt for so many years, they're a little bit rusty around that area of where the tire sits on them. So I kind of got a little nervous on them. Plus, you know, all the gold's starting to peel off and all that crap. So I have a pair or a set of slots. And these are 15 by 10s. And I've been wanting to use these for a long time. I just haven't found the right car to put them on. Now we got this one, and I figured these would look great on this car. So I go and put them on, of course, and I noticed that they stick out about a ½ inch past the wheel well. Well, when I had those other rims and tires on, and the car was off the jacks, literally those tires would tuck up underneath these wells. So with these rims, what I had to do is I had to find a new set of leaf springs. The other leaf springs we had were real thin. These ones came off my 70 Coronet out back. And what we did is we just swapped them out. I put the thinner ones on the 70, took the set I originally put on that car about a month ago and slammed them on the 67. Now what I'm thinking about those leaf spring packs is they came off a truck or something because they're pretty thick. But what's nice about them, as soon as you drop the car down, it's got that raked look to it. That late 60s, early 70s, that vibe that everybody's going for these days. And that's what I love about, what I love to see in these old cars. So we got the rim staged, leaf springs are on, and we'll keep pushing forward, all right? Hey, what's up, guys? Happy, what's today, Wednesday. I just wanted to give an update for the 500 and kind of tell you what I did. So last I remember, I think we were just starting to wire this bad boy in. So here's what I did. So I moved the voltage regulator over to the side. I mounted the coil. I wired in everything all the way down to the firewall and through on some of the wires. Got the tack inside the dash mounted and put the battery tray in, got the starter wires all hooked up. Let's see, what else can we do? Or what else can I tell you that I did? Alternator wires all hooked up. And I'm charging the battery because I just want to test the headlights. And this battery is my battery that I use on my 66. So it's a little low, not to mention it's my winch battery. But other than that, what can I tell you? Oh, headlights came on. I don't have an ignition switch right now, but I just tapped the wires and it bumped the motor, so we're looking good there. And it was a little bit of a project figuring out all these wires, only because they wired so many different things back in the day. And what I did is like I said, I got the wiring schematic. I went through one wire at a time and hooked up everything that I thought needed to go that was pretty much original. So any wire that I knew that was original off the wire schematic, I pretty much put it back, except for my sending units like oil, water. I'm using the 3 gauges in the dash, so I'm not gonna hook those up. So I found those sending unit wires. There's 3 of them, and I just left them in the wiring harness, and that is it. Let's look at the inside here. So as you can see, I put the dash back in. I wired up the 3 gauges. I got the tack wired in. And these are basically just the wires I'm waiting for my for my ignition switch. Sorry about that. So anyway, that's about it. Everything's in, ready to go. And we should be trying to start this bad boy up here soon.